Welcome. So in this video, we're going to be talking about phantom pain post-surgery. This is a real person, a real client that we're going to be working with. And I am going to be showing you what we do for this phantom pain. I've been getting some feedback asking about the client creation process in the software. So this is the Global Energy Method software. I'm going to show you real quick what that looks like, and then we're going to get into the session. So this is Global Energy Method software. To add a client, you just click on Add Client, and then you would enter the information. So I'm not doing that on camera because there is private information, and so I need to protect that. But there's name, phone number, email, the gender, date of birth, and then whether the client is active or not, as well as a spot where you can add a picture. Once the client is in, then there are several things that can be done here. I can show you this one. We can start the session. We can view past reports. There is a notes section where I can keep track of what's been going on, because typically clients do get more than one session. And so I can keep track of notes that I want to keep for myself. The client doesn't see those, just I do. And then I can edit the client if they've changed their email, changed their phone number, anything. I can delete the client, or I can make them inactive. All right, so let's jump right in. And I'm going to start the session. But as we jump in, there is a disclaimer for the software. Basically, we don't diagnose or treat, blah, blah, blah. That is all the normal stuff that you would expect to see. And now, so for this client, I've worked with him before. He had surgery. Oh my, I believe it was around the fall, a couple years ago. He had hurt his knee. He actually had broken his knee, tore the meniscus. I'm trying to remember all the areas, but the meniscus, the patella, and he ended up having to go through surgery to get all of that corrected. So he did go through surgery. After surgery, he wasn't able to get his range of motion back, and he didn't get his range of motion back, and he was having a lot of pain. So he started working with me, and within just a couple sessions, I was able to get the pain to completely go away, as well as get full range of motion back. So that was great. However, what has happened since then, it's been like that for a couple years, is he fell and got this injury during jiu-jitsu. And so he just started jiu-jitsu again. And before he ever got on the mat, his knee started hurting. And so this is a trauma response. And so he wants me to work through that, because he'd really like to work, get back into jiu-jitsu without the fear of being injured again. And so that's what we're going to work on for him. And so we're going to put a specific focus of knee pain, post-injury, and injury and surgery. That's specifically what he wants to work on. So we're not going to broaden it any further than that. We're going to stick directly to that. So if you haven't seen this before, this is the Global Energy Method software. We're going to go ahead and do the session within this software for this client. And you're going to see that on the right side of the screen, we're going to go through and find what is causing this. On the left side of the screen, the system is going to create a professional report that I can send to my client at the end of the session. And so that is what we're going to be doing within this session for him today. Okay, so let's jump in. What I do here, if you're not familiar with energy healing, is I personally set up the session by doing a type of intercessory prayer. I ask God to let me stand in for this client. And I ask God to allow me to muscle test questions on the screen so that I can get some detailed information. God and our subconscious mind knows everything that's going on. And so as we work through a energy healing session, we're able to identify very specific things and very specifically change those things. And there's a multiple different types of corrections that can be done. That's taught within the Global Energy Method certification. But so let's go ahead and get started. First, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to muscle test whether the main cause for this new sensation of pain is in the physical specialty, the psychological specialty. Okay, so it's in the psychological, and I can just click this little button and it's going to give my client a explanation about what that is. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test these three tabs. We have the contributor tab, the related to tab, and the caused by tab. If I didn't know what to do here, I could come click this little eye and it's going to give me instructions for the screen. Or if I'm really confused and that doesn't help, I do have a little search bar down here. There is a full training on the Global Energy Method software, so I can just type in anything. Let's say I type in caused by, and it's going to take me to the training. So if I wanted to look at a video training on caused by, I could click right here. It will the next section on it pulls up the video right to where I'm talking about it in the training, and then I can watch the visual. Some people like to just simply read the instructions. That's what this is for. And then some people like to see the visual instructions, and that's what that's for. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and muscle test if the thing we're looking for is on the contributor screen, the related to screen, or the caused by tab. All right, so and I'm using applied kinesiology or muscle testing. And what I'm doing is I'm asking God to tell me. I've already done a prayer before I started the session to see, number one, is it God's will for me to do the session for this client today? And number two, if I did a prayer asking that God would allow me to use this software and muscle testing to identify specifically what is needed for my client. All right, so it's on the caused by tab, and I'm just testing the items on the page. Okay, there's a memory energy that is disrupting this client. I'm not surprised by that. It's an association memory. Okay, that is not at all surprising. And the reason for that is because this client was injured at jiu-jitsu. Now they're going back to jiu-jitsu. They are it's not uncommon for there to be an association memory. What that means is that the memory of being at jiu-jitsu is associated with the memory of pain. Okay. So we are going to address that. And what I'm doing, I actually have just kind of like a little cheat sheet where I have my corrections. All right, so we're going to identify a little bit more about this memory energy and the association. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to let him know the association is between I always spell this wrong. Jiu-jitsu. I always spell it wrong. So I'm going to let Grammarly help me with that. I don't think that's right. Jujitsu. Yeah, I am not. He will know what I mean, though. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go forward. He's going to know what I mean. Actually, I'm going to look it up. Hold on. Let me see how to spell jujitsu. I thought it was 3 words. Oh, no. Jiu and then jitsu. Okay, so I can click this little pencil here and put in the I. Jiu-jitsu. Let me make sure that is right. Okay, that looks right. Okay. Whoops. I actually didn't finish because I was busy talking to you. So the association between jiu-jitsu and pain. The memory of the injury coupled with this association is causing a reoccurrence of phantom pain. And I spelled reoccurrence wrong, so let me fix that. Okay, so we're going to save that. So now he knows exactly what is happening, what that association is related to. All right. So now I'm going to do a correction. I clicked on the add custom correction little hyperlink. Sometimes we don't need a correction with a customized identified, and that is why it's a hyperlink rather than a screen that needs to be filled out. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and make some corrections. These are the corrections I'm going to be making, and I will go over these with you. But let me first put a little note here. I'm just doing a little bit of testing to see what I can. Okay. Because he's saying he's now feeling kind of like mild pain even when he's not at jiu-jitsu. So I'm getting that. And so what I did right there is I was doing a little bit of prayer, just kind of asking God, okay, can you give me some more information? And then I was asking very specific yes and no questions so that I could use muscle testing to get God's answer. And so I was muscle testing to say, you know, is there injury still? Is there pain? And so I was getting a no. And so I just tested some questions within my own mind. And I got that the desire to do jiu-jitsu is triggering this association. Okay. So that is what's triggering the association. The association is attached to the memory of the injury. And so what we need to do is we need to correct this association and correct this memory. So the actual actions that I will take for this specific client are these, what I have listed here. I am going to repair the memory within the subconscious mind. It's important that the memory is as accurate as possible. It's common knowledge. There's a lot of research that tells us that memories are not, they're very changeable. Okay. So our memories are not actually the just plain out fact of what happened. Information is added, information is removed from memory to make it easier to hold and deal with certain memories. So memory is not reliable. So what we want first and foremost is to repair that memory. I do know from working with this gentleman before that the injury occurred because he was trying moves that he had told me that he was watching YouTube videos of another, it wasn't even jiu-jitsu, it was a different martial art completely. He was watching videos and he was getting swept at his practice at jiu-jitsu. And so he decided to try this move on this person who was a higher belt than him. And when he did that, he caused himself to fall. So we want to restore and just secure that memory, make sure it's appropriate, make sure it's what it really is, because he can control whether he uses some YouTube video move or not. Had he not done that, he would not have been injured. And so that's an important piece of context to this memory. So we're going to repair the memory within the subconscious mind. We're going to restore all the context to the memory to limit the triggers. We're going to separate the emotional energy from that memory. I'm going to support the healthy release of the emotional energy. Now, we could go in and actually release it. And if that shows up as what we need to do, we will do that. However, once we separate it and support it, a lot of times the client will process that out of their body on their own. So what we want to do, because sessions are a set amount of time and there's a set amount of energy that can be used for both me as the practitioner and the client. So I optimize every session by making sure that not only am I don't want to say waste the time, but I don't want to take the time to release emotional energy that I know can release on its own in the next few days. If there is something else that I can do within this session that's going to give him better results. So what does that mean? That means if there is something bigger than that emotion that I can fix for him today, that's what I want to do, because I know this will process out. However, if we get through this and the only other thing that is hindering him is that emotion and we're able to continue, then I will go ahead and address the emotion myself so that it happens a little bit faster. It's going to process either way, but I can help it process, or I can allow it to do that itself and work on other things that are more pressing than that processing piece. Okay. So then I support the healthy processing of the actual memory. So that's different than the emotion. The emotion from the memory is very different than the actual memory. We have a memory and then we have emotion attached to it or associated with it, right? So we're separating that into two pieces because that memory does have value. That memory tells him, okay, doing this caused me injury. If we just, I don't even know that God would allow it, but let's just say it was God's will for us to, it wouldn't be. I can't say that because it just wouldn't be God's will to remove the memory completely. But let's just say we remove the memory completely. Well, he's unprotected now. He could make the same mistake and get re-injured again. That's not what we want to do for our client. We want to protect our client as much as possible. And I know I'm taking a lot of time on that, but it's kind of something that's important for you if you're an energy healer, for you to know, and something important for a potential client to understand as well, that we want to protect this. It is important, if you are a client, to choose a practitioner that fits your values. Not all practitioners use God as their source, the one that is doing those corrections. Okay, so for what I do, I use God as source. A lot of global energy method practitioners do use God as source. So to just pause for a second and explain that, I am the co-creator of the Global Energy Method. The other co-creator is my husband. He is the technical side of it. I am the psychological, or the kind of the energy side of it. I have a master's degree in psychology. I'm currently a doctoral candidate in health psychology. He is a doctoral candidate in trauma-informed nutrition, and so we've combined those to create this global energy method, along with energy healing strategies that have been around for decades and decades. So, what I'm saying, and I'm not trying to tell you that you have to get sessions, but if this is something you are experiencing, that is an option for you, a holistic option for you to resolve pain. This method can be used for almost any type of ailment that you're facing. We're just addressing pain today. So, as the creator of the method, I do still do sessions with people, but I don't do as many as I used to. And I will say that my fees are higher than some of the other certified practitioners. However, we do have certified global energy method practitioners that I personally have trained, that you can go to www.globalenergymethod.com and click on find a practitioner, and you'll see all the practitioners there. Okay, let's move forward. We're going to encourage the neural connections. This is important because we want to help him stay safe, but limit the unhealthy trauma or stress triggers. That is really important for him. We are going to balance the stress triggers. And the reason I balance those is because some stress is beneficial. It keeps your body functioning ideally. You don't want to completely remove stress triggers, because if you did, you would not be able to manage stress at all. It would greatly negatively impact your body. And we are going to balance the existing trauma triggers. Okay, so again, some triggering is healthy. So for him to go and for him to have a mild trigger saying, okay, I'm not going to do something I wasn't taught here, then that little trigger helps him stay safe. It does not hinder him. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and get into prayer and actually have God make these shifts for my client. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I've done those corrections and we can move forward. So let's continue through this session for my client today. And now we are on what we call the add more to report screen. On this screen, I'm basically asking what else could be affecting him, causing this pain. What else could be affecting this focus? And so I will again use applied kinesiology, and I will test the screen, and let's see. Okay, it's wanting a different session direction. Most likely there's something physical. Yep, there's something physical. So I am going to go ahead and shift over to the physical system. Now let's see where we want to work in the physical system. I'm going to be muscle testing again. And the muscular system. Not surprising, because with stress, and with these kind of fears that are happening, it's going to tense up the muscle. And that's probably part of what is causing physical pain. Okay, there's something in the skeletal muscle. Let's continue through. Right now, we're just identifying specifically what is causing pain for him. All right, let's see. Lower limbs. Not surprising once again, since it was his knee. It's his right leg muscle. Yep. So all of this we could have probably already figured out because it was his right knee that was injured. But let's see here. Okay, I'm getting the ligament in the area is affected. I again am not surprised at all because of what happened, right? So, um, okay, so let's see. I'm actually getting excess energies. Excess stress energies. See how it just makes perfect sense. Okay. So what we're going to need to do, I'm going to check and see are all four are affected. So I'm going to go ahead and go through and balance the adrenaline energy. Okay. I like to bold these words because in the global energy method, we use something called NLP, neuro linguistic programming. So we specifically use wording that we know that will trigger the innate healing ability within the client's subconscious mind. That healing ability that God gave us when we were created, that is what we want to trigger. So we're triggering that innate healing ability. We're having God make shifts and we're triggering the placebo response. All three of these are happening within this session. So, what that means is our clients get super fast, super in depth healing from our energy sessions. From the global energy method session, you get 3 levels of healing. You get the actual intercessory prayer, at least if someone is using God as source. Not everybody does, so you do want to ask the practitioner what source you use. If someone doesn't use God as source, you want to ask what source they use and see if that aligns with your personal values. But for me, I do that prayer. I ask God, are you willing and able to? I know He's able, but are you willing to balance the adrenaline energy? If I get a yes from that, then I ask Him to go ahead and balance the adrenaline energy. But then I have the NLP in our explanations and everything that is going to trigger that innate healing ability, that God has given us, the whole reason we survive every day with pains and aches and illnesses, etc. But then now what I'm doing by balance um, or by bolding these specific words is I'm triggering the placebo response, which is a well-tested response from the subconscious mind that does make physical change in the body. So what I'm doing is attacking this in all three ways: the spiritual aspect, you with God making change; the physical aspect, um, with the placebo response, and then the physiological aspect with what we already know to be that innate healing ability. Okay, so that's why clients within the global energy, clients who get global energy method sessions do get such amazing results, is because we attack it from all angles. All right, so let's continue to balance this. I'm copying this because I want to not have to type it each time. So I don't need to custom identify anything. I can just continue. Now I could have done the correction right there, but instead I just typed in that correction. So we're going to do all of these. I'd already tested to find out all of them are imbalanced. So I'm going to copy and paste that and just switch it. cortisol energy. All right, there we go. So again, I could use a custom correction, but for this particular one, I'm just going to do it this way. Oops. Okay, let's see here. I think I clicked the wrong button. So let's go over here. We are going to go back to the type. Go back into stress energies. And then I'm going to go to we're going to go to noradrenaline first, because the cytokines are a little more in depth. So we need to get a little more information about that. Okay, let's go to identify it again, because we know we need some cytokine balancing. All right, so the cytokines, there are a lot of cytokines. So I need to determine which cytokines are affecting this pain. Okay, so let me just muscle test that. There's actually not very many. Sometimes there's a lot. But for this gentleman, okay, it's just his interleukin 16. So and again, the reason I just balance it is because these all have purpose. There is some purpose for all of them. Okay, so we can see over here that we balance the adrenaline, we balance the cortisol, we balance the noradrenaline, and I just, oops, no. Oh yeah, I saw that wrong. So I balanced the interleukin energy. Interleukin 16. Okay. So let's see what we need to do now. Okay, we want another caused by. All right, let me test this real quick. Okay, so what is needing to happen is inflammation. All right, he is starting to give a little bit of resistance, but I did get that we could address inflammation. There is inflammation in the area because of this stress. Okay, so inflammation in the knee due to stress energy. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to make some corrections, and these are the corrections we are going to make. I'm once again going to show you the corrections, and then I will jump off camera and do these. So we're going to optimize the inflammatory response from the immune system. Why are we optimizing? Once again, there is benefit to inflammatory responses. We do not want to get rid of it. We don't want to release it. We want to optimize it. So once again, if you're wondering, I teach you how to do all of this inside of the Global Energy Method certification. We're going to repair any cell damage that's caused by the inflammation. We're going to optimize the histamine reactions, which is the swelling and stuff like that. We're going to optimize the blood vessel dilation. I'm going to optimize the metabolic rate of the tissue cells. I'm going to optimize the capillary health. I'm going to reduce and optimize any possible edema. And I'm going to release any pain resulting from the inflammation, and then I am going to secure the healthy protein structures. These are all things that happen with the inflammatory response, okay, with the inflammation. So I'm going to address all aspects of that inflammation for this client. All right, so I'm going to jump off camera real quick. I'm going to go ahead and make these changes. As we discussed earlier, that's how we do it. And then I'll be right back. Okay, so here I am back, and we can continue through this. At this point, the client is not able to go any further. So like I told you earlier, the reason I didn't specifically release the emotions is because had I released those emotions, this session would have shut down at that point. I would have only gotten to this section, that the association memory, and then I would have corrected that. I would have released the emotions and the session would have been done. We never would have gotten all the way to these ligament issues, correcting the stress energies, and then going a little bit further and getting to the inflammation. So this client is going to get exponentially more support because I waited on the emotional part of it, because that emotion will process while they are processing the session. Probably within the next 4 days or so, the emotional aspect will process through, and they're going to be a lot better off. So at this point, I would typically add affirmations, reinforcements, maybe some encouragements, and then I would briefly say what the results were, add a processing time, and then I would create a summary. So I know this session has gone long. I'm not going to do that on camera for this particular session just because of the how much time I've taken to explain some other parts. Some of my other session demonstrations, I do have these pieces. So I do recommend watching other session demonstrations if you're interested in seeing how I would summarize the session and complete the report. All right. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next demonstration. Bye-bye.